Hey everybody, this is Clifford Ray, and you're listening to Jim on Base.
The Jim on Base show has teamed up with my new friends at Old Hillside Bourbon Company. I got two of my favorite bottles here, Straight Bourbon Whiskey and the Straight Rye Whiskey. So whenever you want to get on base with that authentic Kentucky bourbon taste, make sure you visit oldhillsidebourboncompany.com, their social media, Old Hillside CO, or pick up a bottle at Bevmo and Total Wine. Old Hillside Bourbon Company. They'll always get you on base. Welcome back to another episode of the Jim on Base show. For today's very special guest, we have on a 10-year NBA veteran. He's a 1975 NBA champion as a player and will be a part of an upcoming documentary film on that team. He also has a championship ring as a coach for the 2008 Boston Celtics, and he's also the author of a brand new children's book titled Big Clifford Ray Saves the Day. Please welcome the great Clifford Ray. Clifford, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. I'm just trying to learn all the ambiances of talking on these podcasts.
Yeah, for people that don't know, we had some technical issues, and on the 11th hour, we figured it out.
Yep, that's for sure.
I am curious though, what do people call you, Clifford or Cliff? What do you like?
Coach, everybody calls me Coach, and then my players at Cleveland, they call me Grandpa. And the coaching staff, everybody, because I'm older than everybody. So, I kind of enjoy it. It makes me young, feel young. And so I have several names. My teammates call me Yo. Rick calls me Johan. You know, but I answer to all those above. And I even answered to Duke because in college, they named me Duke. That was my nickname, Duke. And people thought, well, is that about Jim Brown? And John Wayne. And I said, no, basically I was sort of a goofy kind of, my freshman year was a little goofy. So Granville Liggins, who was like a great uh, football player, won the Outland Trophy. He used to love Marmaduke, the comics.
Mm.
So they started calling me Marmaduke. And then when I started playing and I became a real player in their eyes, they just called me Duke from that point on. Now everybody would call me Duke during the games, whenever I do something good or whatever.
So it's stuck.
Yeah, so it's stuck. So I have several names. That's why I say I answer to Duke if I'm at a basketball game and I was playing and I heard Duke, I knew it was somebody from college.
Ah, okay.
And if somebody said Stingray, I knew it was from my rookie year at Chicago Bulls, and they must have been from the Bulls. So all the nicknames kind of follow you according to where you happen to be in your landscape. Because in basketball, you are a journeyman. You are going to go to more than one team.
Well, you had such a great career, and you were here recently in the Bay Area. I saw you pregame. You did an interview with your buddy Rick Barry, so that must have been kind of fun.
Well, yeah, it's always great to see your teammates. I actually was there with two of my teammates, which was, Charles Dudley and Rick Barry. They were the two guys that were there, and so they kind of helped me through everything. We went to a book signing at the African American Museum and Library there in Oakland, which is a tremendous place. And so I did a reading, and we all, my two uh, most trusted people in the world are the two people that helped me make this book a reality, and that was Lainey Weaver and Courtney Weaver. They both sisters, and so they just been troopers. They always, anything that I'm too busy to get done, they have my back, and I just want to everybody to know when you see Lainey Weaver and Courtney Weaver. Courtney is the illustrator. Lainey is the one who takes all my scribble and turn it into something. So that's basically my team,
Awesome.
and then my teammates, of course, because they've been very supportive. It's always nice when people uh, support you, especially the people that you feel that you love, and so I've gotten tremendous support from people, my family, people, my professors at college who's always encouraged me to write a book, more than one. And I just finally got a book written. So it's never too late to do, and that's my message. You could do anything you set your mind to do. And I try to tell young people, especially the crew that I get a chance to be around. I don't get to be around the Warriors as much because they live out, I live here in Florida and they're out in San Francisco. But I even talk to them whenever I get an opportunity to. And I always tell, you can do anything, no matter what people say, you listen to all the sports anchor people every day, and there's a discussion every day as to who's going to win the world championship, who's going to do this, who's most likely, who's going to have problems. But you know what? The bottom line is nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. So if a group of men that put themselves together and make sacrifices the way the cardiac kids did, and I tell this to the Cleveland Cavaliers young team. I say, no matter what people say about you, if you decide that you're going to go out here and you don't care what nobody say, you're going to win the world championship, then you'll go get it done.
Yeah.
And everybody has the ability to do that. You watched the game last night against the Warriors played like a
Yeah.
world championship team that
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to be. And so, there's nights that if you put things together, winning basketball games is really about defense. When you play tremendous defense and your whole team do what they're supposed to do, you're going to score points.
Yeah.
You're going to have a chance to win a basketball game.
Well, you talk about the cardiac kids, and can you believe it that next year will be 50 years since the 1975 team? So that's pretty crazy.
It's pretty crazy, but it gives the team a chance to be able to create something positive that will carry on to the next generation. Just like you said, it's been 50 years or 49 years, whatever it's been, and you're still relevant. So,
Mm.
because no matter what, you can't take away championships. I don't care if you win one, if you win five or two or three or whatever. I guarantee you, every guy who played in this NBA, he wishes he had a championship. He'll take one. I
Yeah.
guarantee you that.
Well, it makes me wonder. You have two rings, so where do you keep them? And have you ever had a fear that you almost lost them or misplaced them through the years? Or
No. I wear one as on the ring that I should have a wedding band on if I ever got married, but seemed like it's hard to travel around and move around as much as I have, I just haven't done it yet. I mean, I'm open to uh, having a partner, and I have had a partner for quite a long time. Uh, but as life, I mean, I look at all these people that have gotten divorced and that have storybook weddings and storybook marriages, like Tom Brady and different people that I've known watched over the years. And I think the biggest thing that I would like to say is that I just think that nothing is perfect. I think you have to really go through life and figure out how you're going to work at something and work at it together. And that's pretty much what basketball is all about. It's about putting your ego aside, putting things aside, and doing everything for the betterment of the team,
mm.
whether it's a marriage or relationship or a basketball team relationship. All those things are pretty much real simple. If you work at it, something good's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I know Rick Barry. He had mentioned you're like a brother to him. So has he sucked you into the pickleball court yet?
Oh, I go watch him play. I've watched him play. It's an interesting sport, and I can see why athlete like him would like it because he found something that he could be competitive at age 80. And so I think that I'm happy for him because he really has enjoyed the emergence of pickleball, and it's been great for him. And I'm just happy that whenever you can find something that you have as a hobby, especially after you're retired and you're still doing things to, try. I think you should be as active as you want to, or if you don't want to be active, then as long as you're doing things that make you happy, because that's the bottom line. I mean, you only got a one-way ticket, so you better try to find a way to accomplish your goals and also enjoy your life because it's only one time.
Well, I think it's interesting too because you were traded for Nate Thurman, and I heard Rick say he was one of the first people to greet you when you came over here, right? So it's kind of, is that where your relationship kind of took off from there?
Well, yeah, he made a point to be there the day that I flew in town. Uh, they had not, we didn't. It's a funny story. So we came. I flew in town, and whatever that you do when you get traded and all that. It was on the off season, so there was nothing going on. And I flew in and I met with Franklin Muley and all the people that had to do with the team. And then so I said, I felt like that I should be paid. I didn't. It wasn't about money because if I told somebody what I made my rookie year, they'd be shocked. And I made $13,500.
Wow,
And when I came to Golden State, I was asking for 50,000, and I was struggling to get that.
man.
So, and so I never played basketball for the money. I just can't be honest to tell you that I think most of us in that era and before me played basketball for the love of the game because it wasn't about money, because there wasn't a lot of money being made at those days. In those days, it took Rick Barry his entire career to make 500,000, and he only
Wow,
made that for what 1 year or 2 years at Houston, I think it was, and that was the most money that. And if he made, you can imagine if that's all he made, you can imagine what Clifford Ray made.
wow.
But you know what? I have no regrets. I love the what I had opportunity to do. I'm very thankful of playing with the groups of men that I got a chance to play with. I got to play. I got to come into the league as a rookie from the University of Oklahoma, and I got to, you know, uh, play with Chet Walker, Bob Love, Jerry Sloan, Norm Van Leer, Bobby Weiss, Jim King, uh, just Howard Porter, Kennedy McIntosh, and Jackie Dinkins. So and Campy Russell's brother Sam.
Hmm.
So we had it was a situation where I've always been able to have the support that I needed. And then I wound up getting traded for Nate Thurman and came to the Warriors. And I looked at the roster and I said to myself, you know what? We could win. And that was my sole uh, thing. I wanted to do something and be a part of something to leave as a legacy in Oakland. And I feel like that we accomplished that. I thought that at the time, the people in Oakland embraced me as a young player coming in, and I just tried not to let them down, and I hope I did never let them down.
Well, when you get traded for someone like Nate Thurman, do you feel like you have big shoes to fill, or is it kind of like an ego booster, like gives you more confidence that they traded someone like
Well,
him for you?
I didn't want to let him down because I looked up to him. I looked up to Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Those were the three guys that I grew up watching,
Hmm.
and to be able to get out on the basketball court as a rookie and playing in the playoffs for the first time in the National Basketball Association. And mind you, I could have easily went to Virginia Squires. I was the Virginia Squires' first pick, and Dr. J was playing there. I felt like no one could tell me that I didn't belong. I think it's your choice to do everything the right way so that you do have an opportunity to show people that you can belong to something. And that's what I went out to do. And so, of course, I did not want to, I love the guys. They helped me so much, Chet Walker, Jerry Sloan, those guys were so, Tom Bullwinkle, those guys were so instrumental at Dennis Archer. All those guys were instrumental in supporting me and making me feel like I had a little bit of a security blanket when I played basketball as a young player. And they always encouraged me. They go, Stingray, they go, you can guard anybody. Because Jerry would say, when they run that pick and roll, don't worry. I know you can guard my man. And I'll guarantee you, coach, he would say, Duke, I guarantee you, I will block him out. He will not dunk on you. And he meant it. And most of the time he got the job done. And so when you're playing with professionals, this was their last opportunity to maybe get a championship. And I felt so bad when I got traded because I thought if Coach Mata would have gave us one more year, we'd have won. And but they traded me because everybody in those days, everybody wants a 7-footer. They still want bigger guys. I mean, you look at the guys that play, the little guard that plays at New York, whatever's in a kid's heart, and if he's determined, because there's been other small players, Calvin Murphy, Spud Webb. I could go on and on the guys that played. I mean, you look at the kid that plays with Sacramento now, Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not big kids, but you know what? They can play ball. And that's all it's about. The one thing I always tell a smaller player, you keep your man in front of you, and I will give you help at the center because he won't come in there on me. That was the attitude that I used to have. And I feel like, I wasn't as probably as vocal as Tremont, but I had the same mentality. I would be quiet about it. Guy come in on a layup and I'd say, look, when you make a layup over me, you're putting my job at risk. So I'm just letting you know, don't come back. And so, those are the kind of things that an enforcer has to do. I mean, I looked out for B. If somebody started messing with B, I would always be somewhere around because he was our star player and he was the one who was capable of putting 30 on the board. He and Jamal and CJ and Derek Dickey and Jeff Mullins, those guys put points on the board. They could shoot the ball. I love being with teams that had players like that because I could play my role. I love playing defense. To this day, I tell my guys all the time, I go, look, if you hit first and you don't look back, meaning that you try to win every quarter. How many times do you see in basketball, it's always a lull? Like the first half is going to be whoever's playing well, you're going to see it. Then they come back after halftime, which is a lull. I call it a lull in the action. Now it's the team who has the most mental discipline, meaning when they come back out, it's like they never had a break. And they come back out with gangbusters. Those are the ones that win the games in the final analysis.
Yeah. People underestimated the 1975 team. And I was curious, what was it like to play in the Western Conference Finals against the Bulls and face the guy you were traded for, Nate Thurmond? That must have been kind of interesting for you.
It was hard for me, period, because when you were a rookie, the people that you have the opportunity to play with as a rookie is that lasts you a lifetime. I think every player would say to you, if he had a great experience his rookie season or, the first 2 years of his career, 3 years of his career, you always going to remember those guys. And that's all I can say about that. It was that I hated that I got traded for Nate Thurman because he was one of my favorite players, and I learned things from Wilt Chamberlain, you know, talking to Bill Russell, people that been around the game, and stuff like that, So I really, it was kind of a hard thing because I knew it was it took him a while to figure out how to fit in with that team and all that. And so it was a tough situation. But you know what? Once I got traded and I came to Golden State, I didn't think about that I was going to wind up playing the Bulls in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I just was trying to not disappoint the people in the Bay Area and to let them know that they made a good choice and bringing me aboard to this particular team. And the reason I thought it was a great team because there was speed on the team. There was we were younger. We had great basketball IQ, and I just felt like if we just learned to maneuver with Rick, I think a lot of the guys didn't really know how to take Rick, the younger guys. And so, I was able to talk to those guys and say, look, this guy is probably one of the greatest players that's ever going to play this game. And no matter what his personality is like, he's our teammate. And he's going to help us because he's going to score 30 every night. And he might get 50 or 40, And so when you know that, you now take on a different type of attitude. If he to have a blow or he needs a rest, you don't got to you can't look at it like, well, why does he get privileged? Those privileges might help you get to a world championship because they do need rest. They can't. Rick played 40 minutes a game almost.
Wow.
I bet he logged just as many minutes as I did, or more. And so he was a very durable player if you really look at it. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, nobody plays hardly 45, 50, 45 minutes, or if you play an overtime game, it's very different now.
While wearing Converse shoes.
Well, we only want to go in that one. I tell you what, it's better than playing barefooted, okay? So that's how I looked at it.
Well, were you kind of like an old soul growing up? Because Rick said you were the hub of the team. Seemed like you kind of had like a veteran mindset, even as a younger player.
Well, it's just that I was always taught to work together. My dad preached it when he would always say, a family that works together stays together. He would say the same thing about relationships. He said, if you ever meet a woman and she asks you for a glass of water and you have to think about it, you need to get dressed and get up and leave and don't come back. And she needs to do the same thing if she's has to think about the things that you ask each other to do. And so that mindset was already instilled in me. It was instilled in me when I went to work on a peach farm called Sunny Slope Farms. And there was all these old guys, and and I was the one who had put his age up, and I looked like I was, uh, old enough, but I really wasn't. But you could get your Social Security card very early back in those days because everybody needed to work, especially Black people and poor Black people in a southern town. And so I got the job. I didn't know what I was doing. And these guys said, we want him. And they taught me how to work together as a team. Man, it was a great thing. I mean, we was the best. It was kind of a great feeling to know that everybody on those trees, on those different rows of trees, they looked up to that group of men because they were that good. And when you watch the tree line that they work, you'll see stacks of 6 or 7 crates all in a row like a big wall. And then you look at the other different crews, because everybody had a crew. It was different crews, and it was usually 6 to 8 men on a crew. So I think they had 9, and I made up the 10th one. I became the 10th guy. So it was 5 guys, and we work a tree, move to the next tree, work a tree, move, and it was like precise. And so, yeah, I learned how to work with other people, and that helped me all the way from college, especially when I went to college. and being a trailblazer in college is what a lot of us, pre-70s and back, whenever we started going to colleges and going to Division I colleges, and all the Division I colleges at that time, most of them were white.
Hmm.
And so, having the opportunity to be a trailblazer and to make things better, it wasn't easy, but at the same time, now that I look back at it, I'm glad that my parents pushed me to not just look at yourself, not to just think about you. Look at the future of how you want to make the world better and what contribution you want to leave to the world.
Well, when you come to a diverse place like Oakland, did you live in Oakland?
When I first came to the Bay Area, I I tried to live. I thought I was going to live in San Francisco, of course, because it just seemed pretty. It reminded me of being in Europe.
Hmm.
And so I finally got an apartment, and it took a little bit for me to get an apartment in San Francisco. But then I realized that we were now going to be playing in there because the reason I picked San Francisco, we practiced at San Bruno
Mm.
at a place in San Bruno. So that was just outside by the airport. And so if you live in San Francisco, you're only 15, 20 minutes from the airport. So that's why I picked that. But after that first year, we wound up moving our practice facility to the Mormon Temple
Mm. Oh yeah, in the hills.
and over in the hills. And so and then coming across the Bay Bridge was probably the most anxiety that I would have because I always had this anxiety. I never wanted to be late, especially for NBA games or anything that had to do with. Whenever I tell somebody I was going to be someplace, I would always leave 2 hours early if I went to a new city, like came to San Francisco. I didn't know my way around. They didn't have computers that say, "Oh, go to how do I get to 1948 so and so," and the thing starts talking to you and tells you go left and 1.2 miles. Do this. You didn't have none of that. No, and and you didn't have cell phones to call somebody if you
Yeah.
got lost. So I would always leave early, and after a year, I think I want to say 2 years, I said if we playing in Oakland at the Oakland Coliseum, that's where we playing at. I'm gonna move to Oakland. So no, I did not go to the suburbs. I lived in Oakland. I became a part of Oakland, and I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that the people, accepted me, and even to this day, people still come up and they say, we love watching you play. You brought a lot to our city, and it
Mm.
did a lot for us to be a part of that run that you guys made.
Well, did you ever have like a welcome to the NBA moment as a young player? Because you talk about looking up to Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Nate Thurman. Did anyone ever kind of humble you right off the bat?
Oh, they did. I was actually I kind of blossomed in the playoffs against the Lakers. And we were playing, it's best 4 out of 7 or whatever. And so I was coming down the court. You know how you run in a fast break? You got your two wings, your point guard, and a trailer.
Mm.
Either trailer's on the right side or he's on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always the trailer guy after I get the rebound out. But a lot of times I had so much quickness that I could outlet it, underhand outlet it, and already be done fill the lane. So I was coming down, and they all loved me because they always say, "Big Dad." Norm Van Leer would call me Big Dad, and he would say, "Big Dad will dunk on you. He ain't gonna sit around and try to be pretty. He go try to break your wrist." And so I'm coming down and I'm in full bore and I'm wide open and I cranked it back like this and I went to throw it through. And who do you think showed up? Mr. Chamberlain. And he almost took my shoulder out of whack. because he caught me in midair. And so with that kind of force, it just jarred my arm. I thought it was broke. So yeah, it was very humbling.
That's great. Well, one thing I want to get to is your new book, Big Clifford Ray Saves the Day, and I thought it's based off of a pretty surreal moment, I'd imagine, where you helped save a dolphin at Marine World, right?
Well, that's the book.
There it is.
There it is.
Great cover.
And it's a true story. And I always said I was going to do something about it because kids would always say, "Why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book about it?" And took 40 years or 47 years, whatever it took. But you know what? It's never too late to do anything that you actually feel that's a good, feel good thing. And this is a feel good book. It's a true story about saving a dolphin and the all the things that went into doing this for this animal. And plus, I'm an outdoorsman and I also am a conservationist when it comes to the oceans and the waters and what we
Mm,
need to do to keep our oceans clean. And we've not been very good at that, but we're getting better.
mm.
So this book is about Dr. Spock, and I happen to have a close friend that was the public relations director. Her name was Mary O'Haran, and she worked at Marine World, and she told him, she said, "Oh, I know I have a friend. He's got. They say he has the longest arms in the NBA, arm length, and so that's how that all came about. So it also is a book that helps because the proceeds goes toward breast cancer and prostate
Mm.
cancer, two of the things that men and women of all ages, of all colors, of all ethnic groups, whatever, all of them at some point have some issues. That's why all women have mammograms and all men have PSA tests. And so we're able to help people have those things through this $34 book, $32 book, whatever it is. It's something that I wanted to do to give back. And
Mm.
so I've been able to give back. Right now, I'm working on a drive, a book drive, because the NBA All Star Game is going to be in San Francisco next year, and I've been talking to different companies like DoorDash and Levi Strauss,
Okay.
uh, Clorox, all these different companies that are there, and everybody said, "Well, you should ask some of the .com company to buy, some cases of books." And so on the weekend of the whole thing, we're going to come out, and the cardiac kids are going to go through Oakland, Haywood,
Wow.
Richmond, and we want to give books to elementary and middle school kids. And that would be, I thought it would be a great thing that if we could get Nike or a Converse, which is the shoe company that we all played underneath. And that would be a nice retro thing,
Yeah.
something that they could get a lot of mileage out of. So I'm trying to put that together along with my teammates. And that's something that we hope to be doing this coming All Star.
That's going to be great. Looking forward to that. And where can people, in the meantime, though, where can they buy the book? Like Amazon or is it a website?
Well, of course, everybody only knows Amazon because Amazon is that big.
Yeah.
But I just got to tell everybody the reason that it's not on Amazon yet
Mm.
is because Book Baby is a small publishing company and they don't take all your money. And so that allows more funds to go toward a
Mm.
good cause. So
Nice.
it's if they want this book, all they have to do is to look up Big Clifford Ray Saves the Day, bookbaby.com, and it will
Okay.
come up and they can order the book, and it's all for a great cause. And I love the fact that we were in town last Sunday and we were outside in the Warrior store, and uh, people came up, and two uh, ladies came from China, and they bought
Wow.
uh, 2 books each to take back home. And I said, well, I just became international.
Oh, that's
But
good.
it's been a fun thing. It's really been fun because I get to meet older people, younger people, men and women bring their kids by and they said, this guy was a great player, blah, blah, blah. You know, he won championship as a player and as a coach and 4 divisional championship, that kind of thing, you know.
Hmm.
So I never really thought that I was a great player. I always thought that I worked hard. And I appreciate the opportunity that I got, and I tried to make the most of it. Was I perfect? No. Did I screw up sometimes? We all do when we're young people. But the bottom line is that I did leave a legacy with my teammates, and that we were a great team, and nobody can ever deny it. Anybody who lives as long as we've lived, and they tell their children, and they talk about how much different the game was. Personally, I think the game is always has taken care of itself through each generation, and I like where it is right now. I don't think that. I think that the part of the game defensively could be better. Definitely, I think the attention to rebounding on each team, whether your offense or defense, could be better. Yes, but that's why the game is such a beautiful game, because when you play it right, like the Warriors played it right the other night,
Hmm.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil the book, but you do help save a dolphin at Marine World. So it made me wonder, did you ever go back and visit the dolphin?
Up until his demise.
Wow.
I always, and he would always come up and, right up, and, because they're smart animals,
Hmm.
and he realized that I saved his life, and he was always willing to come and give me a handshake, and without a trainer. I
Wow.
could walk back there and he would know right away. He'd come right up there. And and then I felt like that because I got so much, when as the guys say today, oh, I blew up, and back in those days, there was no such thing as that kind of media coverage that you have today. But for some reason, the world embraced that story. I don't know, maybe it was because of Greenpeace and everybody, the people that were working on saving the oceans and all
Mm.
that. So maybe that helped, and if it helped, I'm really appreciative of that. Also, I felt like that people would always say, "Oh, there comes the dolphin. We're not going to catch any fish." Well, I always, once I was able to go out on a boat and fish on my own boat, seemed like every time I would go someplace, I would have all these encounters with
Huh.
animals that belong to the dolphin family. The killer whale was from the dolphin family. And they just followed me around. They would come up, go underneath my boat, and I'd catch a fish and then throw it out. They catch it. It was amazing. I said, I don't know what it is, but dolphins seem to follow me wherever I go.
Wow.
And it's been, even to this day.
Well, do you want to go out sometime? I want to go see some. So.
Oh, anytime you want to go, I got a boat. I got
Okay.
a, I got a. I'm not. I don't have a yacht like Shaq and some of the guys, but to me, it's my little yacht. It's a 17-foot, 18-foot action craft flats boat. I can go in 2 feet of water and catch redfish. I can catch snook in the mangroves. I can catch red snapper. Everything that they eat, I can catch.
And people point to you and say, "Hey, there's a stingray on the water."
That's true.
And it's cool that your book helps with cancer because you yourself are a two-time cancer survivor, right? So that's pretty neat.
It's an interesting journey how I got on this cancer deal. I had I went for a routine checkup when I was first coaching in the CBA, and I was at Fort Wayne. And I went in for, every year they give you all these physicals and everything. And then all of a sudden they told me, they said, maybe you got a infection of some kind, but we're gonna wait. We're gonna give you a shot, and we're gonna wait a few weeks, or a couple of weeks, and I wound up definitely having a very aggressive type of prostate
Mm.
cancer, and the journey through that made me realize what really was important in life. and that is the people that you love. Your life is a gift every single day.
Mm.
And I was able to be around some great doctors. The Cleveland Clinic was great to me, as well as the medical community in Fort Wayne. And I actually had radical, what they call radical prostatectomy, and so men don't like to talk about prostate cancer because it's that alpha male thing, and a lot of guys have girlfriends or they have a wife, and it makes them a little bit insecure. And I can certainly understand all of that, but at the same time, I say it beats the alternative. If somebody loves you, they're going to stick with you and stay by your side. And I just believe that. I believe that because I can't tell you how many wives have come up to me and thanked me for doing what I have done, which is to be outspoken about it and not act like I'm still some macho whatever. And so I'm just trying to spread the message that every man, no matter whether it's you, me, it doesn't matter about the color, because a lot of times they would say, well, it's more prevalent in the Black community. The only thing that's more prevalent in the Black community anymore is Black people. Every disease that you have now, everybody gets.
Yeah.
We have more men of all races that have prostate issues. We have more women, all races that have, breast cancer. And it's one of those things that we all have to deal with. And so to be educated and to be open about it and to be able to talk about it to other men so that they don't feel so vulnerable, and because I'll tell you a story. I had a coach that I coached with at Fort Wayne. He married a young lady who was probably 10 years younger than him, and just a beautiful lady. And they got married, and just after he got married, I think she was just had gotten pregnant, and then he found out he had prostate cancer, and he didn't do anything because
Wow.
he said, I just want to, I don't want her to be in turmoil. I want to just enjoy my marriage. He said, I've waited for this woman all my life. And he died.
Wow.
He never got to see his twins. He had twin boys. He never got to see them because he could have lived if he would have done something or went to do something, because you can live. I've had this twice and I'm
Mm.
still above earth.
Yeah.
And I told him, and when I talked to her, she said, I don't know why wouldn't think that I would. I love him, and it wasn't about sex, and no, and just the whole thing, what she went through, it was devastating to her,
Yeah.
and that he, that she wished he would have believed in her. He
Yeah.
had two kids, and they're beautiful young men. They've been doing great things too.
Well, I'm going to put a link out so people can go to the right website to buy the book, and it's going to go into some great causes to support. And I'll put that out on social media and everything. And really quick before we conclude here, I had to talk to some music with you because I heard you were a drum major and I play drums too. So do you still hit the snare every now and then?
No, no, no. See, I am a drum major, Major. That's the
Oh,
guy who leads the band.
oh, okay.
I played all woodwind instruments.
That's what I read, and then I was told,
Yeah.
okay.
The reason they talk about me being a drum major was because I had a scholarship to go to Grambling, the famous Grambling marching band. Whenever my high school band would take the field at halftime, and I'd step out through the band and come out, and that hat would be dragging the ground. They just went crazy because usually you got to be pretty limber at that. And
Yeah.
that area point in my life, I was pretty limber, and I could do a lot of things I can't do now. But I love music, and I've always loved music. I've had some tremendous opportunities to be and sing with other different people. I got to go to the First Cathedral in Washington, D.C. on a Sunday, and President Kennedy was the president,
Wow.
and that was the church he went to, and we sang that at my high school uh, choir. And I also got to be in the studio with Marvin Gaye doing What's Going On,
Really?
and a lot of the athletes, Lim Barney, different one of us, and I used to be able to talk to guys, because musicians don't sleep, so they'd call me. Like I remember getting a phone call from Marvin from Stockholm, somewhere where he was at. Because he was trying to get away from some things, some of the demons that we all have demons, and so he called me. He said, "Big C," he said, "I got a hit." And that was Sexual Healing. That was his
Wow.
last major. And then just, he was one of my admirers. I could tell you a lot of stories about musicians, because I've met a lot of musicians in my lifetime, and I don't think that my life has been like a storybook, because when you come from a town less than 15, 16, 1,700 people, and you get to do some of the things that I've gotten to do, like, going to Rome, and, going to the Vatican, or meeting Mother Teresa, all these different people that I got to meet
Wow.
in my lifetime, it's just amazing. I always ask myself, gosh, like, I've had an interesting life and a fun life. I have no regrets. I don't wish I was super rich. I don't feel mad because the NBA wasn't paying us like entertainers. It took going to antitrust, which a lot of the young guys are learning because of Black History Month,
Hmm.
that they talk about all the different things that we were able to bring about through our tenure. Somebody has to pave the way. Somebody got to dig the street and put the pavement down. And I feel like that we should feel honored, that should be worth more than any millions of dollars that you could get. Because you know what? You can't take those things away.
Hmm.
And God still provided us with a good life.
Yeah. Well, man, now you got my mind wandering because I wanted to ask you some music stuff. I asked Rick Barry yesterday who his first concert was, and he finally remembered. He said it was the Beatles at Candlestick. So, do you remember
Mhm.
who your first concert or any memorable ones that you had a great time at?
I had a good time when I hung out with Bill Graham and the
Wow.
Stones, the Rolling Stones, with
Yeah.
all them guys. And then I got one of my favorite Bay Area. I have a lot of favorite Bay Area guys. I mean, I love Bob Skaggs.
Mm.
I went to see Bob Skaggs um, at in Dallas, Texas. I got on a plane and I flew to Dallas, and I didn't get to really hang out with him, but he's one of my favorite people. I love his sound. I love the raspiness of "We Came to Play," Tower Power. They're my boys. I love those guys. And just all the Bay Area people that we grew up with. I grew up with Larry Graham,
Wow.
Sheila E. Uh, uh, you know, they would have like these jam sessions with the Pointer Sisters and all the different musicians that were from the Bay. They would have like little go to their house on a weekend, and they had big lawns, and they would just be out there jamming, and I got to jam and stuff. I got to meet Mac McAnally, who does all the music for Jimmy Buffett. I met
Wow.
Jimmy Buffett. I went to Muscle shows. I done had a great, like I told you, I could write a book about the stories and things that I've done. Had an opportunity to do. I was, just in the right place, right time, and I met people and they all seemed to keep up. They would reach out. Like, Marvin would call me, Master P, who was first rapper. You know who the first rapper that I knew? He was married to my cousin, and that was Gil Scott-Heron.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you the most memorable night. I'm sitting in the locker room in Oakland, and I'm sitting with Gil Scott-Heron, Stevie Wonder, uh, Elvin Bishop, and someone comes in and says, John Lennon just got shot.
Wow.
And we went on the stage and did a song in honor of John. That was really good. It was in the Oakland Coliseum. I never forget that. Just some great things. These are all things, that, the kids, they get all those things because they're celebrities now. They're like, I mean, LeBron, he does movies. I did movies too, but not to that extent that they done. I was in Anything Goes. I forget the name of it, with John Savage. He was a basketball player, and that was Richard Donner, whose sister lives in the Bay Area, and he did Lethal Weapon with Danny Glover, who's also from Oakland.
Yeah.
So I was around a lot of different people and a lot of venues and things, and I just did. I was always asked to do voiceover work because I got a great voice, and people would always want me to do stuff like that. But I didn't really. I was kind of shy. I didn't really want to be out there like that, so I didn't go to Hollywood or whatever. But I'm happy with the things that I had an opportunity to do, for no question.
I thought maybe you were Barry White's long lost brother because you got the good voice.
I like Barry White, but I'll tell you a story. There was another story. We were in Detroit when they used to play at the
Mm.
Cobo Arena, and so I was with Chicago at the time playing, and this young kid was coming across the street, and he wanted to know if anybody had an extra ticket to the concert that featured Barry White, Aretha Franklin, the Temptations, and the Four Tops.
Wow.
And we was gonna play on Sunday, and the concert was on Saturday. We always went in a day before. So we walking across the street, and this young guy, he's got on a band jacket, and he's talking to us, and he said, and I said, "Come on, go with us. We'll get you in." And he wanted to meet Aretha Franklin because he had written some songs that he thought would be great for her. He actually got to meet her, and that
Wow.
guy turned out to be Luther Vandross.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, you do need to write a book. This is getting ridiculous. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's interesting that the people that I've gotten to meet in my lifetime. I'm amazed even to this day when I meet different people. And I meet most interesting people. I'm always meeting somebody that's uh, that I learned something from, or like I learned about Zoom from a psychiatrist who did her therapy. Probably one of the first women that did her therapy
Hmm.
over this thing. And she
Wow.
she was she had the Scott brothers, really Robin Williams. I could tell you a lot of people that have depression, and because I know them, I knew Robin, I knew
Wow.
all, Grace Slick. I mean, there's all these people that live in the Bay Area, man. So many musicians.
Clifford, it's been great to have you on, and it's been a lot of fun to hear your great stories. I'm going to put a link for the bio, and I'm going to pick up the book myself. And hopefully, with this new documentary coming out, there's a premiere. I'll see you at that, hopefully, or just maybe in town at a Warriors game.
Oh yeah, no question. I'm always, when I come to town, I always support the team that I actually physically won a championship with.
Hmm.
You feel good anytime you're a part of a championship organization. And I was lucky because there was two teams that I wanted to I didn't care which one I got to work for, but I wanted to work for one of those teams. I never did I got to play at Madison Square Garden, but I never got to be on the Knick team.
Mm.
But I got to be a part of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And I knew Red Auerbach, and especially when he was trying to see what I thought about Robert Parrish. And I told him, I said, if you put Robert Parrish with Kevin McHale and Larry Bird, you're going to win at least two or three championships. And we laughed, and he traded. JoJo White came to us, and Robert went to. And I thought it was the best thing that ever happened to Robert, because he got to go to an organization that had tremendous history, and the rest was history, because the big three was the first big three, you know. So,
Yeah.
and then I got to go and be a part of a championship with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Rondo, Kendrick Perkins, Big Baby. It was great. Ray Allen was just great. All of them. And I really enjoyed that. And I thought the bonding, we were talking earlier about the bonding of teams,
Mm-hmm.
I thought the best thing that we ever done was that we decided to have training camp in Rome,
Wow.
away from everything and everybody, and where we all had to be together with each other, because we were probably the only ones who spoke English. I don't think anybody else spoke no French or whatever. Maybe some of them, not like Kobe. Now, my child Kobe, who I've known since he was a baby, he spoke all kinds of languages.
Yeah.
And just a great, so it was a great situation. It pulled the group together. We had a great year, just a great year. And as I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And sometimes coaches and players and organizations, they just keep tinkering with something. Instead of, you got enough room, when you got an 8-man rotation, you got enough room to put 3 guys, to bring 3 of your best players that you can get, because you don't get drafts. Because when you win the championships, you're not in the draft.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to be smart. And so if you take those 3, keep putting those 3 players together each year, then you will have a nucleus. And that's why they were able to win. They did some smart things with Pelinka and, the team. I thought Mark Jackson and Steve were the catalysts for putting the foundation together. And then, he had an opportunity to win the first championship, and then the rest was history.
Yeah.
And so I also feel like that Peter Guberman and Mr. Latham, came into the organization and did put what was necessary to it, the monies and all that. So it wasn't a nickel and dime, back in those days, it wasn't the way it is now. In my lifetime, it has made me tremendously happy to know that I was a part of players like Shaq and all these guys making tons of money, doing all kinds of endorsements and things like that. So you feel like you are a part of them getting these opportunities because you paved the way. And I always feel good when I see them, and especially when they do good things and they give back.
Yeah.
LeBron has been giving back. Shaq always give back. I always hear good things about Shaq doing something generous. I would like to. Curry is having. His wife is having a baby. I sure would like her to have my book, and some of the other guys who have kids. I just one of those guys that don't like to bother people when they're getting ready to work. So I haven't really ever taken like my books and just gave it to people yet. But I have books for Candace Parker and a lot of the Gail King. Those are people that I would like to have my book. She has a book club, and I really am proud of this book because I think it's really good. I think it's kids love it, parents love it. Everybody wants their kids to read more. They don't want them to be on the computer zoned out all the time. So I think it was a good time to do something like that.
Again, it's been great to have you on. Thanks for giving me some time, and excited to
Yeah,
see you on down the road.
I'm sure you just keep doing it and keep having that genuine smile and the way you are. I'm sure you got a great following.